is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
What an unusual season it's been. The two dominant forces, Mick Claridge and Michel Dudignan, have not lacked speed, but certainly seem prone to bad luck and mistakes. A driver who has been close multiple times but never grabbed a championship is Ove Trangerade. Capitalizing on the topsy-turvy results of all those around him, the Norwegian is placing himself in a prime position to finally snatch the crown. Can the rise of Dave Price upset his hopes? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 4 of the Lotus 49 World Cup, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Johan, Road America should provide a stark contrast to last week, from one of the toughest tracks to pass at to a circuit rife with opportunities.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Joe. The long straights and big braking zones of Road America will offer plenty of overtaking opportunities for the drivers today. But before we start, a bit about the track. Road America was constructed over 70 years ago in 1955. It lies near Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and has been used in a bunch of different racing series, including NASCAR and IndyCar. And one of the things that made Road America so special is that it's one of the only tracks in the world that still uses its original layout. The 6.5 kilometer course features 14 corners and hosts many elevation changes. And like you mentioned, Joe, this track is very fast. In the practice earlier today, I saw drivers near speeds of close to 300 kilometers an hour easily on the straights. But the lack of downforce on these cars also means the braking will be extremely important, as drivers have to slow down incredibly for the corners. It's going to be a race today where the drivers will have to be on the edge for 16 laps. And to see how that looks like from the driver's point of view, let's hop on board our GSSC Lotus 49 for a lap around Road America.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Road America. Turn 1 is going to be an excellent place to overtake, but be careful of how easy it is to get greedy. It always feels like you can send it in here a little bit deeper until you try to get the car to turn in. Coming off, you might find yourself struggling with wheel spin, so be gentle with the throttle. It's a pretty short burst down to turn 3, and this is really a corner where the best advice is to back up your entry and try to launch off the exit. You'll see it takes us onto the Marine Sweep, and if you hesitate to get on the gas, there's gobs of lap time to be lost. The gentle bends are also going to make it tough to tell what line someone is going to take, and you could be forced into a hairy situation. The downhill braking means you'll be getting on the binders extremely early, and everyone knows that long braking zones make for enticing passing zones. Turn 5 is no exception to that. Then it's a little climb up the hill under the Corvette Bridge where you'll discover the tricky braking for 6. The car gets light on the crest and destabilizes on turn in. Then you've got very little time before 7, and if you're not paying attention, you can miss your brake marker. That leads into the hurry downs. While some might downplay this as a less than ideal place to pass, most drivers aren't expecting to be overtaking into this left-hand bend. A good run can offer a great opportunity for a sneak attack. After that, the track immediately dumps you into the carousel. This long sweeper really requires patience. Balance the car on the throttle through most of it, but try your best to straighten out the exit to allow yourself more of a run. That, of course, leads to the kink. With this being a car without any real downforce elements, expect to fully get on the brakes and have to whoa the car up just to make it through here. Once again, early on the power if you can, and now comes the tiptoe through the kettle bottoms. It's supposed to be a straight, but in this car, you've got to arc it like one long turn so that you can line up your braking for Canada Corner. Because of that weird entry, attacking and defending here is going to prove sketchy. Then from there, you'll only get a real brief squirt of the gas before you brake for 13A. It's almost too short to be able to switch sides, but the real difficulty coming into the final corner is keeping the rear of the car steady while you brake. And this is another bend where it's critical to get the exit right. Coming onto the main straight, the ability to get the car wound up and find grip will really separate good drivers from great drivers. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished the lap around Road America.
They see a relatively long lap around here, even with the high speeds that they reach in the Lotus 49. Now, let's take a glance at the championship since we have to wait for those laps to come in on the qualifying. And it's been a very odd one. You can see Ove Trangrade sitting up at the top because he's had a first and a second in the last 2 rounds. He didn't have as good a result in the first one, but still, he's been helped out. But look at Dave Price jump up the order with that first win on the broadcast races. That still keeps him way behind, 32 points behind Ove Trangrade, but he's coming. Nicola Kochi jumps up to 6, and Marco Kika jumps up 2 positions as well. Daniel Sadro dropping down 2. Now, that is mostly because of the jumbled points that we had from Talladega in the second round. That really produced some unusual results there in that race. Now, we also have the F2 championship that we follow. Johan, what's that look like after all that?
Well, the Formula 2 Championship is Marcellus Breuning leading the rest of the field with 24 points. He has been very consistent so far, the American, scoring twice 10 points. A little bit less good in Brands Hatch last week, but he's still quite a bit ahead of Rob. He is currently 10 points behind him. Simon Shaw, he's one of the famous names that we see a lot on this broadcast. He's currently sharing 3rd position with Hideko Koivisto. And there's several drivers tied for 5th place, and shoots Sean Pellick and Jason Wallet.
So we also have a Constructors' Championship, and as we take a look at that, Claridge and Price have done a good job this season of getting themselves up to the front. But look at Trangrade, just by himself, only 3 points separating them. The United States has a lot of players bringing them in up to 3rd, jumping them up 1 position over Canada, who also has been contributing a lot this season. Kochi, the only driver to score points for Italy, rounds out our top 5 there. Because of Michel Dudignon's poor results so far this season, you do not see France. He's usually the only one contributing there. What about the race details? What are we looking at for today in case any of our new IESN viewers aren't familiar with the Lotus 49 series?
Well, this is round 4 of the championship today. This is a 12-round championship, just like usually in iRacing. There's 2 drop weeks. You can see by the 2 watermarks behind it. That means that the 2 worst results of each driver will be removed from the championship effort. The race distance today will be 16 laps, as mentioned before, and the setups are open. That means the drivers can twist the knobs, make it as different as they want it, just to their liking, to really beat the circuit in Elkhart Lake. And since 2 seasons ago, we have a new point structure with 40 points going to the victor.
And of course, if you enjoy this sort of racing, make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network. There's a big red button on their page here. Make sure and click that. You won't miss a moment on their feed, as you'll get all the racing, including all the championship series. Now, we've got a few times on the board. Michel Dudignan, no surprise here. He is currently on the pole. We heard drivers during the interviews at post-race last week saying how special Michel is around this track. And boy, Johan, you were watching in the warm-up even, saying how much he was dominating there as well.
Yeah, I was watching a practice session with Mick Claridge and Michel Dudignan. I have incredible respect for what Mick Claridge can do with his car, and he set a really good lap time at one point. And then Michel Dudignan came in, and just in the first lap that the Frenchman did, he immediately went under it, and you could see Mick trying harder and harder to get closer to the time, getting faster as well, but he just couldn't beat the Frenchman. Michel Dudignan seems almost unbeatable at this track, and you can see it in qualifying because he just put in a 2.44. He's currently 7/8 tenths above the rest of the field.
And he was already on the pole. He dropped it by 3 more tenths just to up the ante for Mick Claridge, who's actually coming around to finish his lap right now. Like you said, that 2:05.2 has a ways to go. What can the Brit do as he crosses the line? He does improve, but it is by 1/1000th of a second. That is definitely not going to be enough. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's really consistent lap times from Mick Claridge. Well, he'd be happy with that. I'm looking at Dave Price behind him. He has already finished his lap times as we're on board with Benjamin Soko. Dave Price currently is a 2:05.4. He's in 3rd place, which is really good, Joe, but still he's a second behind Michel Dudignan, and that just shows how good the French driver is here today.
I believe Zoko has both of his laps in. Yes, he does. So he's just warming up at this point. That 8th place is as high as he will go. Only driver I see still putting times in, I think, is Jonathan Rex, and that's a new name here. Wonder if he's been drawn to the series by the growing popularity, but time is up, so he won't get a time in. Let's go through our starting grid. Michel Dudignan will be on the pole with Mick Claridge flanking him. Let's see if maybe he can use the draft to keep up. Dave Price, coming off his first win, is going to start off on row 2 with Nicola Cocci next to him. Our current championship leader, Ove Trangrade, starts in 5th with Marco Kika running in at 6th position. Then you've got Rob Olenek coming over from the Camel Series here, starting 7th. Ben Zoka will be P8. Matt Wright starts in 9th with Daniel Sadro rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, the first driver outside the top 10 is David Rossi, driver with a very famous last name. He starts in P11. Next to him on the grid, Alex Cameron in P12. First driver on row 7, Marcellus Breuning, the leader in the Formula 2 Championship, and he starts alongside Andrew Eng. Don Good starts halfway the field in P15, and he's flanked by Hideki Koifisto. Telmo Amaral, the Brazilian, starts in P17 today, and he's sided by another driver, Francisco Javier Gutierrez. The last row below 10, the last row in the top 20, Daniel Blackman starts in P19, and Robert B. Eriksson is behind him in P20.
21st will be Randy Huff, and he'll be followed by Sean Hatoy. Then it's Gary Anderson, the last driver to put a time in, and 23rd. Victor Perlman will be starting 27th. He's got a ways to climb up the field. Same with Philip Kruhart will be 24th. We followed Jonathan Rex just shy of a lap. He'll start 25th. And Jeff Olney, the last of our field, in 26th. A nice field yet again, as the drivers continue to get large amounts of participation this season. Good to see in this series, and it sounds like Perlman isn't in the session, so maybe only 25 drivers at the start. Drivers gridding up, waiting for the lights to come up, and it looks like engines are revving. Round 4 gets the green flag here on the iRacing Esports Network in the Lotus 49 World Cup. A good start by all of the leaders, pretty much a tie for them down to the line as they come down to turn 1. Michel Dudignan already getting them single file. In fact, most of the pack looks like they are stringing out all the way down until they get to 13th. And even then, not much competition.
A big accordion effect. Oh, there's one car. Oh, going over the grass. Rob Olenek gets spun around. That's one of the. Oh, he gets collected hard in turn 2 there.
Bit of a messy start, and I can also report.
Another spinner. Hideki Koifisto goes around. Sorry, and he gets collected by several drivers in the backfield.
Oh, that is not going to help his championship hopes as we see them break into turn 5. Oh, and who was that going off? Having to collect the car?
David Rossi in the wall wanted to mention that he had a very poor start together with Alex Cameron next to him in the grid. They together bunched up everyone behind him, P13 and down, but there's several drivers, Joe, already in the wall, already having a very difficult race ahead of them today.
Can report that Dave Price had an off in turn 3 as well, but he kept going, lost multiple positions. An unusual start here in the Lotus 49 World Cup. Usually they're incredibly clean, and obviously a bit of jitters here being bumped up to the Esports Network as they come around the carousel. Still, our top 2 are close together. Dudignan trying to shake Claridge.
The driver who had the worst of it is Rob Olenek. He was started, of course, P7, and he's sitting in the pits. His car was crabbing, and I don't think he will be out there today. Mick Claridge and Michel Dudignan both probably didn't get anything of that whole incident happening behind them, because they're only separated by a few tenths of a second as they go through Canada corner.
A bit wide, you saw there in the background for Trangrade. He now sits in 4th behind Cocci, who inherits that final podium spot, coming around to finish the first lap. He is falling off of our top 2 just slightly. He's going to have to hustle so that he doesn't lose the draft. Let's take a look at the replay. Yeah, go ahead here.
Yeah, but I wanted to mention something about Dave Price. We can do that after this replay as we see what happened with Rob Olenek, of course. He was hit from behind in turn 2. He started to spin. He tried to hold on to his car, but he just got completely throttled by someone behind him here, as you can see. And that really has ruined his suspension and his hopes for a victory today.
And it looked like he actually got checked up, and that's what caused him to get hit from behind, as he was slowing a lot more than the field expected. Meanwhile, we're going to watch Rossi try to save the car. A little bit of contact with the inside wall, I think, under braking. And we were talking about, before we went live, about how difficult the braking is into this corner.
It's extremely difficult to brake well on this car because you have such high speeds on the straights, but because you lack the downforce, you have to slow down incredibly. Probably the ratio is way bigger than any other car on the surface because you just have to go so slowly through corners. We were saying the kink earlier, drivers only go 100 kilometers an hour through that corner, which is insane almost if you compare it to the top speeds that they can reach.
So we watch the top two continue to battle. We don't need to go to it, but Jeff only had a solo incident into turn one and found the wall. He since had to take a tow. Another car falling victim to Road America. We're only on lap 2, and I'm seeing at least 5 drivers have taken to the pit lane.
Yeah, a lot of drivers getting caught up in incidents in the beginning part of the race, including Dave Prix. Of course, he came off from his victory last week at Brands Hatch, started P3, great start of the race, but got a little bump at the beginning of the race, and he's really the big loser of the top 6 at the moment, falling down 3 places. Luckily for him, it doesn't look like he has damage, and he's still in the eye shot of Michael Kika in front of him.
Just behind Price here, we got a bit of a battle between Sadro and Matt Wright. This is for P7, up and around Bill Mitchell Bend. Wright starting to put the pressure on. He's been getting closer and closer as the lap has gone by. This is a prime position to try to make a pass as they both accelerate off the final turn. And look at the slipstream start to reel in Matt Wright.
Yeah, Matt Wright has been setting himself up a few corners already to try and make a move there. He goes on the inside, putting it on the inside.
Gets it done. Easy braking textbook move, yeah. So now on lap 3, you saw at the top of the screen, Dudillon is trying to pull away from Claridge, and I think it's working. He set the fastest lap of the race and is stretched out to about 1.2 seconds over Claridge.
In the backfield, Randy Huff had an incident with Jonathan Rex. Randy Huff was sent into a spin. Jonathan Rex went through the gravel. Both drivers seem that they can continue, but Randy Huff has lost a position because of it.
And now he's actually got Telmo Almiral and Sean Hatoy starting to close on the back of him. So he could lose 2 more positions even in the early stages of this race. But Sean, with a bad exit off of turn 3 instead, is going to put him under threat from Telmo.
Telmo Almiral actually going through the inside here. Sean Hatoy losing a position there into turn 5.
Yeah. I think Sean actually lifted there coming down to turn 5.
Yeah, it seems like Sean is maybe not that comfortable yet because Telmo Almiral went really wide through turn 5. Sean probably had the chance to go on the inside and get that position back, but he let the guy in front of him get that position back and stays behind him in P18.
Oh, when something happened to Ove, and I think it's the kink. Yep, I'd say dipping a wheel off in the grass did him in.
Oh man, that's millimeter work. Just centimeters he went over. And he got collected hard by Dave Price while he was rolling over the track.
We're going to watch Price's view. So hard to try and avoid a car tumbling around like that, knowing which way it's going to go. You can see it happen up ahead, hoping it doesn't come back on the track. Oh, wow. Hopefully he didn't get too much damage on the front, because that can hurt your top speed.
Yeah, but luckily for him, he's still in the draft of Michael Kika, so maybe the fact that he's in the draft at the moment will neglect that damage a little bit and make sure that he has a slightly higher top speed than he otherwise would have.
Meanwhile, Zoko manages to overtake Daniel Sadro. That moves him up to 7th. I think Sadro's been moving backwards a little bit since we looked at him.
Now I think it almost also could have been the Benjamin Soko just had a bad start. He is currently driving in P7, started in P8, but the drivers in front of him all started behind him in the race. So maybe Benjamin Soko just had a poor start and is really recovering the places that he lost at the beginning of the race now. He's putting the pressure a little bit on the car in front of him. That is Matt Wright. Matt Wright is currently in P6.
It looks like Matt Wright is feeling that pressure. You saw him get a little loose coming off of turn 5. These cars a little squirrely under power, especially on a track like this where it's so important to get the grip off the corner. Look at that peek to the inside from Zoko. Oh, and Claridge has lost second. Nicola Kochi, let's see if we can figure out what happened here. Was this a mistake? Yes, it was.
Yes, yeah. That's turn
8.
Yeah.
Maybe about 40 seconds ago, Mick Claridge, a very simple mistake we should point out too, wasn't very dramatic. The car, we were going to come into the hurry downs out of 7. It looks like the car just started to get a little squirrely on him, and then he collected it, and by that time, he was heading for the grass.
This is a really strange moment, because this is not really one of the corners that you expect a problem in these cars, because you approach it with slower corners. But like you say, the car just got loose. It seems like he had to correct himself several times, and then once he hit the grass, he just slides over it, does everything in his power not to collect himself in the wall, but he loses 1 position to Nicola Kochi.
Gets it back going once again. Boy, the Italian faring well here at Road America, but I guess that's no surprise since they tend to fare well at their home track in Monza, which has similar qualities.
Yeah, Benjamin Soko gets that position from Matt Wright into turn 1 there. Really setting himself up, as you said, Joe. He was really making the moves, putting him under more and more pressure, and now makes it stick. And the Australian elevates himself 1 position.
I was just looking at the same thing. Zoko really taking his car forward. Going to be a longer gap for the next one. It is about 6.5 seconds up the car in 5th. Dave Price, who's in a battle of his own, actually. Right now, I'm not sure if they swap positions down into 5. Marco Kika and Dave Price trying to sort out P4.
Another driver that just retired is Philip Urquhart. Philip didn't set a qualifying time, started in 24th position, but just stopped on the outside of turn 1. Maybe he had some personal matters to attend to, but he was all the way in P12. He already got 12 positions back. He's sitting now in the pits and falling like a stone.
Sad to see so many drivers have to retire early. Usually we get plenty of them making it to the checkers. We're only on lap 5 as we continue to watch this fight between Price and Kika. Let's watch them go through the kink once again. Just how much the cars have to slide through there. No real advantage between them, although I think the slipstream is helping Price close slightly down towards Canada.
Yeah, Price is putting the pressure on Kika a little bit. Maybe he just spent some laps trying to see what the damage did to his car, how it still handles, and now he has the confidence back and he's trying to put Marco Kika under more and more pressure. Now this is probably one of the best overtaking maneuvers if you can set yourself up very well through turn 14 here. Look at him close down the gap. It's a very tight line, Dave Price there. If you get a good exit, it seems like he wiggles a little bit less than Marco Kika. Now it's a very long run down towards turn 1.
Yeah, Dave looking so much more confident under braking. The car closes in as they come up to the braking of 1. And once again, proving that little bit braver. But they're going to go side by side through this corner. And it turns out Price has the bigger guts as Marco Kika gives away 4th.
Marco Kika giving a lot of space there and just caught him out in the end, because then you don't have the momentum through the corner. You can go on the throttle quite a bit later, and that just helped Dave Price to get that P4 position.
Price, having started this race in 3rd, is trying to climb back forward after that mistake in turn 3 on lap 1. Next up for him would be Claridge, but it's about 4 seconds. In fact, as Claridge regains, yes, he has regained ground on Kochi.
In the meantime, there's a nice battle going on for P9. Alex Cameron, Marcellus Breuning, and Andrew Eng. That's P9 to P11. They've been a little bit under the radar so far, Joe, but they're very close together. At the moment, Andrew Eng is capitalizing on the mistake of Marcellus Breuning into turn 5, getting him on the inside and just moving himself up into the top 10.
Yeah, sliding wide down at turn 5. Very easy in this car with the long braking zone into a downhill corner. Never easy, especially with the way the track jinks to the left. So down through the hurry downs. Next up for Eng, going to be Alex Cameron. Not really much of a place to pass here through the carousel. Look at him just swing that car wide. Cameron tried to set himself up for the exit of the corner, taking it back down to the apex. Gets himself a nice launch, but not enough to keep him safe from Eng.
Yeah, it's cool to see that both drivers are trying different racing lines through the carousel, trying to see what works. But as you say, like, the draft probably helped Andrew Eng to immediately make up that lost time. And look at him just getting closer and closer towards Canada corner, taking a look on the inside, braking later, doesn't get it slowed down, but also Alex Cameron is braking himself side by side through Thunder Valley, but it is Andrew Ng that gets the job done and moves himself up to P9, 2 positions in 1 lap.
From 14th on the grid, this is a fantastic run from the number 14 car. I'd say he's having one of the races of his life, but he's going to have to work for it because there comes Alex Cameron with a better exit, doesn't even need the draft. He's going to easily breeze by.
Yeah, but if you already make the move here, then maybe Andrew Ng can already use the draft before the move is over. But no, Alex Cameron stays on the inside, doesn't move back to give Andrew Ng a little bit of extra draft, and he gets himself back to P9. Immediately tries to defend. Oh, he loses it! No! Oh, just on the throttle, he loses it and smashes into the wall. Now he tries to continue. I hope for him that he doesn't have a lot of damage. His car immediately goes to the grass. Seems like there's some damaged suspension there.
Just on the throttle, a little too greedy. You can see overcorrects it. When this car is on a trajectory, it is going straight to the scene of an accident. Meanwhile, second place, I asked if Mick Claridge has closed in. Yes, he has. 0.3 of a second between himself and the Italian Nicola Cocci.
Nicola Cocci, he probably was liking it a lot when you saw Mick Claridge go over the grass and thought that maybe if Mick Claridge hits the wall, he can get a P2 position. But it just shows once again that Michel and Mick are both extremely quick at this track. And Mick Claridge immediately putting the Italian under a lot of pressure. Of the run down towards Canada corner here. Not taking a look on the inside like we just saw in the battle for P11. Stays behind him. Now what you can do is you can try some different racing lines. So he's very close there. Try some different racing lines towards turn 14 to have a good exit. Let's try it on the start finish straight. Mick Claridge here braking a little bit straighter than Nicola Cocci. Just a lot more smoother it seems like, Joe.
I was watching that at a Canada corner. Nicola was squirming all over the place. Meanwhile, Mick just smooth as you can be up the straight. I think Claridge a little bit too far back, but you can see the defensive line. Cocci still feels a little bit under threat. They come to turn 1. He's going to get a second chance down the Moraine sweep into turn 5.
You can have a smooth exit, but even though he had a smoother exit, he didn't have a better exit. Nicola Cocci just better on the throttle and having more speed, and the draft didn't help Claridge enough to try and move. Here it seems like both cars are fairly equal. Now this straight is a little bit less long, so you have to really be a lot braver to try and make that move. Mick Claridge takes a look on the outside. Cocci defending the inside, under braking. Who's more courageous? It seems like Mick Claridge is more courageous. Tries it around the outside, keeps it there. The next corner is once again to the left, and Nicola Cocci stays in front of him in P2.
Yeah, we've seen Nicola is not going to give this up easily from what we've watched him battle in the past. And as all this is happening, Michel Dudignon is just streaking away. It is nearly 10 seconds from first to second place.
Yeah, it's a masterclass driving at Road America what the Frenchman is doing. But this battle for P2 is heating up now because Mick Claridge wants to get by Nicola Cocci as soon as possible. Once again, he has to stay right behind this gearbox through the carousel corner. And this is probably too short to try and make a move, Joe.
Yeah, not into the kink, but let's see what you can do out of the kink because you do get back onto the power, and they once again are just dead even. Claridge using the slipstream to close in bit by bit. As they break for Canada corner, going to be no attack here.
Yeah, he doesn't want to make the move into Canada corner. Every time we saw it in other battles that people are trying or maybe trying to sell a dummy into Canada corner, Mick Claridge chooses not to. He chooses to stay behind, single file, and really put all the eggs in the basket of turn 1 and turn 5.
Oh, he's a lot closer this time by. I don't think he's going to be giving the inside line, though, as they come up. Oh, Cocci does not defend. All the way down to the wall goes Mick Claridge. He's got a head of steam. And I think he's got it done this time. He is ahead. Cocci's got no response. Maybe for an over-under. And no dice.
No, really close though. And if he can just stay, have a good exit out of the next corner, he might be able to try and move into turn 5. Doesn't have a good run through turn 3 though, Nicola Cocci. Way too much to the inside. Not using all the available track there. And you can see that Mick Claridge immediately has a small gap. Nicola Cocci, of course, having the draft now, being able to close the gap a little bit. But if you compare this to last lap when Mick Claridge could send it side by side there, even though Nicola Kochi is trying it by moving a little bit later, braking a little bit later, he doesn't make it stick, and that's P2 for Mick Claridge.
Yeah, Kochi just had to collect the car with a puff of smoke off the front left wheel, barely locking him up. And once again, we're starting to see a little bit of and way off for Mick Claridge into the hurry downs for the second time this race, trying to keep it out of the wall, and all that hard work has been undone. Kochi is back through just like that.
Wow, it's maybe the weather or something that Mick Claridge is struggling with, because I cannot remember a race where Mick is struggling so much with sudden snap oversteer in the middle of corners.
And once we come back live, let's watch one more time on board. I want to bring the weather up on screen because we haven't talked about that, and that's a good point. It is a super hot day down on the track surface. Once again, those hands sawing back and forth on the wheel to bring it back to the pavement. Look at that, 110 degrees, Johan.
Yeah, that's insanely warm, and probably maybe Mick Claridge is just struggling with that, having too much oversteer in the middle of the corners, and all the work that he has done to get a P2 position back is for naught. He has to try it again, but Nicola Kochi has a very wide bad run for Nicola Kochi through the last corner, immediately trying to defend the inside, doesn't give Mick Claridge any draft, drafting side by side over the start-finish line, but it seems like Mick Claridge has enough speed here to make the move before turn 1. Ooh, Nicola Kochi brakes a lot later though, sends it back on the inside, actually gets the position back. Mick Claridge hangs around, side by side, they give each other just enough room, stay side by side. If you can brake once again a little bit later, Nicola Kochi, you might have it. Through turn 3 here, still side by side, wiggling his way back on the power, Mick Claridge.
Oh, this is going to be a drag race down to turn 5. Claridge is going to have the inside line. He did it last time. Oh, they almost come together. The track isn't perfectly straight. He's way late on the brakes. Can he actually make the corner? Slides it into the apex. Somehow gets it done. Mick Claridge is on a tear.
Oh, that deserves some applause. That was a beautiful move. Immediately sliding through turn 6 there. What a great move from Mick Claridge to get to be so courageous under braking and to get your car slowed down as well, just on time to make the move stick. Oh, Nicola Kochi behind him, we saw on camera, almost losing it in the same position as Mick did last lap around. And now let's see if Mick Claridge can stay in this P2 position.
He is getting to both drivers, but down in 9th position, Marcellus Bruning and Andrew Ang are still battling. We watched them fight a little bit earlier. Marcellus must have gotten that position back when we weren't looking as they come through turn 6. And we are halfway through this race at this point.
Through this race, because these drivers are fighting like it's the last lap. Andrew Ang trying still to get that position back. Andrew Ang, we mentioned it before, of course, having a great race, making up 4 positions so far. Marcellus Bruning likewise, making up 4 positions so far. And for Marcellus especially, it must be a great feeling, leading the Formula 2 Championship and then also just probably extending your lead even more by having a good result like this in Road America.
Absolutely, as we watch these two fight, swinging through the kink one more time. Don't think they're close enough for a pass. So a little bit farther up the field, Dave Price finds himself unable to shake Marco Kika. The Finn really wants to get himself back up to P4, and I think he's going to have a chance.
Yeah, Marco Kika taking a look on the inside here. Of course, Dave Price was behind him. He probably has passed the Finn a few laps ago. We mentioned it before, Joe, that the damage that Dave Price had and that it might hurt his straight line speed. Well, it might actually be the case because he is not able to shake off Marco Kika once he is without a draft. And the Finn just keeps putting him under pressure and tries to make moves to get a P4 position back.
Yeah, he's going to follow in his tire tracks down to turn 5. Once again, Price a little bit defensive down into the corner, trying to keep Kika behind. And you know what I love about what we've been watching today, Johan, is that this car has a bit of a reputation of being so difficult. I think people maybe anticipate you can't really have side-by-side racing or hard racing. I think we've been seeing the myths dispelled here today on the iRacing Esports Network.
Absolutely, this car is great for racing. It is a difficult car to drive, and especially if you're used to maybe downforce cars, it is quite a different cookie, and you have to get used to that. Oh, sorry, Mick Claridge once again. in the wall.
Yeah, this time he actually found the tires. They were side by side in the carousel. And that actually was because Claridge had a little bit of an off in 8. It slowed him up. That offered an opportunity. Under pressure, he finally cracks.
But again, that snap oversteer. Luckily for him, he can continue though. He's right behind Marco Kika and Dave Price.
That car is damaged though.
Yeah, he has a lot of oversteer in the middle of corners, and I think that Mick Claridge will or go to the pits or will be very slow for the remainder of the race.
Up at the top of the screen, we've been seeing flashes of purple. This whole time, Dudignon has been making it look like child's play, setting fastest lap after fastest lap. And he is now 16 seconds ahead of Kochi. This is Michel's race to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Michel just has to stay calm because he has 16 seconds in front. Oh, sorry, P3 at the moment. Side by side, Marco Kika sends it on the inside of Dave Price through turn 1. The Finnish driver is a lot closer than he was last time. Doesn't make it stick yet though. Through turn 3, Dave Price a little bit more courageous on the braking. He stays in front, but now on the rundown towards turn 5. This is another opportunity for Marco Kika, and especially if Dave Price has the damage and is slower in a straight line. You can see the Finnish driver creep a little bit closer. Using the draft, will he try to send it on the inside? No, Dave Price blocks him off beautifully. Good defensive maneuver for Dave Price. The Finnish driver has to stay behind him for one more.
And we have a pass for P9 that we just missed. That was Ang and Marcellus Bruning. And actually, it swapped back. It's like Bruning retook it into turn 3 of all places. It looks like Ang's going to try and come back at him up to the outside of turn 5 much later on the brakes. Can he get it woed up for the corner? That car is coming in awful hot. It slides sideways through there, and somehow he collects it together in time.
It didn't help that the car behind him also started to slide a little bit, so some synchronous sliding there. Beautiful racing between both Marcellus Bruning and Andre Ang here for P9.
Oh, and poor Don Good must have had an issue because he's taken it to the pits. I'm not sure what happened there. Donnie B. Good has elected to end his race, and I don't see a problem for him, so we'll have to report on that later exactly what happened. He's coming back out now, so it must not have been too bad a damage for the car.
Maybe he had some miscalculations with fuel or something like that. Left his qualifying fuel in. Anyway, for P3... Dave Price and Marco Kika are still going at it because the battle for P4 is now a battle for podium position. When the champagne is on the line, the stakes are even higher. Marco Kika once again in the draft of Dave Price, once again getting closer and closer to turn 1. Trying to move around the outside, it seems like now Dave Price defending the inside. The Finnish driver braking a little bit later, very courageous, having a lot of momentum on the outside, but his car starts to slide. Then you lose the momentum and he doesn't make it stick. He immediately moves to the inside to try and move in turn 3, takes a loop, brakes a little bit later, forces Dave Price to make a move wider. Doesn't make a stick, but look behind him, that is Mick Claridge. His car is damaged, but his car is not damaged enough that he has to give up a fight for a podium position.
Yeah, but he's been sliding all over the place. I have seen that car sideways through so many corners. So he is a bit of a danger for these guys coming in. He's got to be careful and tiptoe through this fight, even if he is faster. So your order right now: 3rd, Dave Price; 4th, Marco Kika; 5th, Mick Claridge, all fighting for a podium position. And this is important for Dave Price. Remember, he is 2nd in the championship, and he just saw his rival have a DNF today. So he wants to get as many points as possible. A move to the inside, down into turn 8 from Mick Claridge. Kika tries to hold on the long way around. They almost bang wheels coming up. Oh, and they do come together.
Oh, poor Mick Claridge. Once again, he has to go through the gravel there. And this time he took a tow.
Yeah, sloppy race comes to an unfortunate end for Mick Claridge. Side by side through the carousel, a hard one to pull off in these cars, and it did not go off for the Brit. There you see the final moments in his race today.
This is music to the ears of Dave Price, who has immediately gotten a small gap to Marco Kika. Around a second between the two drivers now, and let's see if that's enough for Marco Kika to basically claw his way back using a little bit of the draft and resume that battle for P3. A little bit of traffic in front of Dave Price, that's Jean Horty. Immediately moving to the inside and letting P3 and P4 pass.
I want to give a bit of a shout out to Ben Zoko because he started this race in 8th, and because of all the attrition in front of him, he's now running in 5th. It's been a slow climb, just keeping the car pointed forward. The Australian has shown that sometimes it's less about having the speed and more about having the consistency.
I would almost say that Benjamin Soko is one of the drivers that can go for a podium position today. He is only 2 seconds behind Marco Kika. Looking at the last lap time, Benjamin Soko did a 2:05.9. That's almost a second quicker than Dave Prix did. And with 3 laps to go, I think that in the last lap, Benjamin Soko will be there to pounce on Marco Kika and Dave Prix for that last podium position.
Should also point out that we've seen Jonathan Rex steadily moving forward since his lack of a qualifying time. A lot of that is attrition for him as well, from 25th on the grid to currently running in 14th. For a driver, I believe this is the first time we've seen on the broadcast race.
Yeah, very good for him, and he's not that far from other racing drivers as well. He's only 2 seconds behind Telmo Amaral, so he still has a shot in P13 in front of him.
So with 3 laps to go, let's once again prove we do have a leader in this race. Michel Dudignon is now 21 seconds up. This is dominance, ladies and gentlemen. The Frenchman is showing what I said at the start of this race. He has the speed. Today, he's finally proving that he's also able to cut out the mistakes and get himself up for the top step of the podium.
I think that Michel Dudignon is just in such an amazing flow at the moment. He's doing 2:04s consistently, very happily. His quickest lap time of the race is even quicker than he was in qualifying. So that just shows what kind of a good feeling Michel Dudignon is in at the moment. Just extremely consistent and extremely quick. And also over a second quicker than the rest of the field.
Someone's going to have to fix up a plate of hot dish because he's making himself an honorary Wisconsinite out here at Road America. As we jump back to Marco Kika, still trying to keep ahead of Benjamin Zoko. Hopefully that damage with that contact won't cause him too much trouble, but Ben is hoping the opposite. He has been hunting him down for a number of laps now.
And again, last time around, Benjamin Soko was 0.7 of a second quicker than Dave Prix. So the Australian really has to hurry up. Does he want to try and move for that P3 position in the race? And that means that he has to get rid of Marco Kika extremely quickly. I think that at this point of the distance between the two, he will start feeling the advantages of the draft on the straights.
Up towards turn 6 as they work their way around. They haven't dropped off too far from Dave Prix. One mistake, and this could be a 3-way battle. Now down to 2 laps to go. Time is running out. The Australian is gonna have to hustle if he wants to peel these positions away.
Just a quick update on the battle that we saw earlier in the race between Andrew Eng and Marcellus Breuning. That battle is over for now. Andrew Eng is the one that came out on top. He overtook Marcellus Breuning and has increased the gap to almost 3 seconds, a little bit over 3 seconds. And I think that with only 2 laps to go, Andrew Eng will not give that away.
If I'm not mistaken, I think some of these paint schemes are still left over from that 1966 Indianapolis Grand Prix, Indianapolis 500 that these drivers picked up for the Talladega race, which makes me happy. I love some of these paint schemes. They just look so appropriate on these cars.
Appropriate is exactly the correct word for it. Just a little bit of history extra to these very historical cars. The final lap is underway. Michel Dudignon has crossed the start-finish line for the penultimate time, but Benjamin Soko will be giving it everything he's got to get that P4 position away from Marco Kika. He's 100% in the draft now, but I think, Joe, the gap is a little bit too much to try and make a move in turn 1 now.
Yeah, he's going to have to wait for turn 5. He sticks his nose in anyways, trying to just get a little bit psychological with Kika. It does cause a slide from the fin. That brings him a little bit closer. So, could he have an opportunity into turn 5? The exit from here is going to make the difference. They're both solid, maybe a little better for Marco Kika. I don't think this is close enough yet again.
I would almost say that Benjamin Soko was a little bit too careful there, a little bit too slow through turn 3, and that just costed him because, yeah, as you said, Marco Kika just had a better exit in the end through turn 3. Turn 5, once again Marco Kika is just sliding a little bit, and you can see that the distance between the two cars immediately shrinks. Turn 6, Benjamin Soko looks on the inside, both cars get very loose. The distance grows a little bit bigger, and the disadvantage of Benjamin Soko.
Yeah, he's going to have to get his car back up there for this part of the track to Canada corner. He'll get one last try on the main straight. We have seen passes happen, but Michel Dudignon has no such worries. The Frenchman comes around through Bill Mitchell Bend. One more corner to go. And a dominant drive, a return to form for Michel Dudignon as he accelerates up the hill to take the win in round 4 here in the Lotus 49 World Cup. What a great drive by him.
I want you to take the words from my mouth. Extremely great drive by Michel Dudignon there. Now my ooh that you heard was almost for Benjamin Soko, who put 2 of the wheels on the inside of the grass in the carousel corner, almost lost his car. And if you look at him at the moment, you can see that he lost almost all the distance that he had made towards Marco Kika. I don't think that it's enough, but as you can see, Nicola Cocci will come home in P2. Dave Price will come home after a tumultuous race with several contacts in P3. Marco Kika in P4, and Benjamin Soko has to stop his charge in P5.
Let's not forget Matt Wright. Remember, he started this race in 9th. He's going to come home in 6th. This has been a well-earned run for the number 13 car, punching above his weight a little bit, I should say, considering that his I rating puts him down with the number 13. So that'll be a nice little haul of points for him. And we'll follow him home in 8th.
Well, talking about an I rating gain, look at Marcellus Breuning. He's only ranked as the 22nd driver out there today. But he comes home in P9 after that good battle with Andrew Eng. And he solidifies his Formula 2 lead with a 2nd place out here today.
So we watch Alex Cameron get himself a top 10. We should point out, this is the first race all season of the broadcast races of the Lotus 49 that is not split. This is great participation this season. Love to see so many drivers out in this beautiful car. Rex is going to be our last driver home, so as he finishes up, we are going to take a little break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, but stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races on the GSRC. Welcome back here to Road America on the iRacing Esports Network. Again, if you want to follow more action like the race you just saw, click that big red subscribe button and follow all the races here on IESN. Today, though, with the Global Sim Racing channel following the Lotus 49 World Cup, Michel Dudignan shows exactly what he's made of in this car. Look at that gap, 25 seconds when the checkered flag came out. Nicola Cocci, though, great run for him. He fought hard for that second place. And Dave Price as well proved what he was made of. Remember, he made a mistake on the first lap, so that third place, even though he started in third, he really had to bring himself back to the fore. He fought with Marco Kika, who wound up in fourth, and Ben Zoko, the Australian, climbing from 8th to a top 5. Almost got to the podium at the end. Matt Wright gets 6th place with Daniel Sadro finishing in 7th. Andrew Ang was in a good fight for most of this, with 8th place coming away ahead of Marcellus Bruning in 9th. Then it's Alex Cameron rounding out your top 10.
The first driver outside the top 10, Francisco Javier Gutierrez. He finishes after gaining 7 places in P11. Telmo Amaral finishes just behind him in P12. And Jonathan Rex is, I think, the hard charger of today, winning 12 positions to come home in 13th place. Don Good is the first driver 1 lap down. He comes home in 14th position, just in front of Daniel Blackman. Sean Hotois, he comes home in P16, just in front of Rob Olenek. Mick Claridge, we saw him basically fight for the victory or fight for podium positions the whole race long. That final contact in Carousel Corner retired him, and he only is classified as 18th. David Rossi is 1 position behind him in 19th, and the last driver in the top 20 is Randy Huff.
And we are now solidly into the cars that DNF Philip Urquhart in 21st, Gary Anderson 22nd, Jeff Olney in 23rd. Then we have drivers very early on who fell out. Ove Trangereid's tremendous tumble that he took in 24th. Robert Eriksson, 25th. Hideki Koivisto in 26th. Victor Perlman, unfortunately, was a DNS today. So with that, let's bring in our second place finisher, Nicola Cocci, to talk to him about that epic battle with one of the stalwarts of this series, Mick Claridge. You had to really work to get that second place away, Nicola, but in the end, you took it away.
Yeah. Hello, guys. It was almost a little bit scary to have someone fast as Mick behind you for a good portion of the race. I tried to battle him as much as possible, but you cannot exaggerate with this kind of defending driving, because otherwise it's going to be some contact for both of us. So I released my pedals a little bit, but he was keeping to do some unusual mistakes for him, and I think he had some kind of technical issue, because after that it just retired, and I think he has some issue with his headset or something like that.
Yeah, we were debating that as well, if it was a technical issue, or the other thing we were curious about is, even though it wasn't too hot in the air temperature, 84 degrees, on track, 110. So, I mean, how did it feel out there? Because it looked like a few drivers were slipping and sliding.
Oh, yeah, I was sliding a lot. And with this high temperature, it's never easy to go on the gas. And I even had a little bit of an issue. Maybe my only mistake was on the first lap when I tapped the back of Dave. I'm really sorry about that, because it was just like I was surprised a little bit, because on the first lap, of course, he tried to do the corner safely, but it was on the brakes like a tiny bit before I expected, and I tried to slam the brake, but I locked up my wheels a little bit, and I was only able to give him a little bit, like a very tiny bump, but that was enough to make it turn around, to make him turn around. And I'm really happy that he was able to recover for that, because otherwise it's going to be, I will be even more guilty,
Yeah, it looks like there was no hard feelings. Also, a big thank you to Johan feeding me. It's 43 degrees Celsius for all of our European viewers. Was that
Thank you.
temperature? Yeah. So obviously, we're on the iRacing Esports Network now. You're the only Italian out here today. Do you think this will bring any more of your countrymen out for this classic car?
I hope so, because this car is a blast to drive. It's some of those super basic car that needs a lot of sensitivity and skills from the driver, and this is gonna help everybody to drive faster any other car. So this race, Daniele was not able to make it because he's I think he's racing the GT3 somewhere else. So yeah, the only Italian, but I really hope that this car gets a little bit more noticed, not only by Italian but by everybody.
Absolutely, and that's the Petit Le Mans happening simultaneously right now. A bunch of us have teams running. Thanks for the chat, Nicola. Congratulations on a second place.
Thank you, Guy, and congratulations for you as well, as you are in the new network, and I'm sure that you're gonna do an awesome job.
Oh, thank you very much. That was Nicola Cocci, second place finisher here in the Lotus 49 World Cup at Road America. Up next, Johan's caught up with Dave Price, our third place finisher.
Yeah, Dave Price coming home in third place today. Now, Dave, we just heard of Nicola Cocci basically telling him a little bit about the incident in lap 1. How was it from your point of view? You, of course, got bumped in P3. Nicola's point of view was that there was a little bit earlier braking than he expected. Did you brake a little bit earlier at that point in the race to maybe conserve yourself towards turn 3? What happened?
Yeah, hi guys. It's lap 1, second turn. I just wanted to give a bit of room to the car in front, and it doesn't particularly help you getting too tucked up tight at that point. You can't really get a run out on the guy in front, so I was a bit conservative, and I think he just caught Nicola out. It's no big deal. I ended up finishing third, which I think is probably the best result I would have got today anyway, even if I'd been in it. It's a shame because I think I picked up a little bit of damage on the car because I had absolutely no pace in the race, but still had a lot of fun. Good battle with Marco there, and yeah, another podium.
Exactly, the result was very good. Now, one of the things you just mentioned is the little bit of damage that you might have picked up in the race. At one point in the race, we saw Over Trangerate hit the wall hard just after the kink, and it looked like you collected him. Do you think that the damage that you collected was from that incident?
Yeah, I don't know. I scared the living daylights out of me, that did, because we were going pretty quick through there, and I saw Ove sort of bouncing off to the left, and then his car tumbled, and I thought he'd hit me. I thought he was going to take me out, but I don't know if there's a bit of netcode going on, but I sort of magically survived. But I don't know if I picked up any damage there, or if I picked up any earlier. I mean, Nicola gave me a fairly good clonk, so I couldn't see anything on the car. I had a quick look at the car at the end of the race, and I couldn't immediately see anything at the back. So I'd also made a gearing change just before the race, which, as we know, making setup changes just before the race is a stupid thing to do, and I should know better. And I was really slow down the straights. So I'd kind of geared it with the view to being probably having to follow Mick, and well, probably less than Michel because he's so fast here. But it kind of backfired on me when I didn't have anyone to follow, so that probably contributed as well.
That's interesting that you mentioned it, because during the race we were actually theorizing that you did have damage and you were suffering a little bit from straight line speed, because in your battle with Marco Kika it seemed like you could follow him easily once you were behind, but once you got in front of him it was difficult to really get away from him, because it seemed a little bit like you were lacking straight line speed, but it wasn't just not damage but probably the gearing, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think the gearing wasn't helping me, definitely, and I was just finding that with the gearing that I'd had before, I was pretty much almost hitting the red line as I got on the brakes at the end of that front straight. And I thought, well, if I get any sort of a toe up here, I'm not going to be able to use it with that gearing. So yeah, hence the perhaps unwise decision to make a last minute change.
Ends well because you come home in third place position. Are you happy with that you started P3? A lot of things happened and you finished P3. This is a result that you come home with smiling?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think barring some incidents, I don't think I had the pace, to particularly get past Mick. Nicola's been fast here all week, so in terms of the result, it's fine. So I wish I'd been racing a bit further towards the front, but still had good fun. And on to next week. I think we're off to Brazil next week, so we haven't been there for a while. Looking forward to that.
Exactly. South America's on the schedule. Well, thank you for talking with us. There was Dave Price coming home today in 3rd position.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And that also helps him in the championship quite a bit, with most of his main rivals finishing behind him. Let's close up here today on the iRacing Esports Network and the Global Sim Racing channel with a big thank you to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us on for coverage. Big thank you to iRacing for bringing us on as well. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan Amjad and Dougie. Need to change my script from last week. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. If you check us out on social media, we're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to the GSRC YouTube page as well. Hit that big red subscribe button. You won't miss a moment on our channel over on the GSRC. Next race, as mentioned, going to Interlagos down south. That'll be Saturday, October 13th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.